That
Dr.
Rudasingwa, the doctor with the real clinic.
Yes, Robert has raised many issues, and I'm afraid we won't be able to cover them in this conversation. But let me pick two. One, the subject of development, which I think has been exaggerated by the current government of Rwanda. And
what makes you think that it has been exaggerated?
And that is one. But I want to comment on the fundamental problem of Rwanda. The fundamental problem of Rwanda, as I argued even the last time I was here, was not really how fast a president of Rwanda or a ruling party is going to raise the profile of development in a matter of 10 or 20 years, and lo and behold, the country has developed. Because some of the claims that we used to take when I was still in government, and which the government still takes right now, and which has become like the operating philosophy, that look where we were in 1994 and look where we were in 2011. Admittedly, indeed, as I said, the country was in very bad situation and has been able to register some development. But to imagine that development is unique to the current RPF government is both an exaggeration and a falsification of the facts, because even the governments that preceded RPF were able actually to register some development from 1959 when Rwanda became independent in 1962.
From Gregory Kayibanda to General Juvenal Habyarimana.
Yes, I would say that even by the way, I would say that even our kings were able to register something that every generation has to pick from and build on.
Right.
And so to say, oh, because if we had plenty of time, I would also give the evidence to show that actually this is modest development, because number one, it's actually predicated on a lot of aid that Rwanda has received from the outside. And number two, that this development is mainly located in the capital city, and that the conditions.
What about Mutara?
Yes, I live there because that's also where I have. So I have a different viewpoint. I would say that yes, there has
something is happening in Mutara.
Yes,
in Kigali, the capital.
More is happening in the capital city.
What about in Cyangugu?
Yes, that's the and so yes, and so that's number one. But the most important problem, Shaka and my friend Robert, that we face in Rwanda is that we have had two violent revolutions, the 1959 one and the 1994 one. Each revolution promised something and delivered something to the people, both 1959 and 1994. But where we have been failing has been, have we been able actually to reconstitute the power structure in Rwanda such that these ethnic groups that have become perennial problems in Rwanda, by themselves there's no problem being a Hutu, a problem being Tutsi or being a Twa, because we haven't created these things. I've just found myself a Tutsi, I'm born into it, I cannot be shy about it, nor can I be shameful about it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing. But the fact of the matter is that these identities have become politicized by the elite. From 1950, before 1959, it was the elite around the king, and there were Tutsis.
Around the king, of course, and the Belgians.
And the Belgians. After 1959, it was so-called the Hutu elite. But it was the Hutu elite.
From probably Gitarama.
Yes. And then, of course, after 73, it's the Hutu elite from the north. And then, of course, what has happened since 1994, though we began on the right footing.
It's back now to the Tutsi elite?
Progressively, it has become a very narrow. The other day, I wrote something that really irritated many people from Rwanda. I said, look at the structure of the security services and the army. James Kabarebe, a Tutsi. Kayonga, a Tutsi. The permanent secretary, a Tutsi. The head of the National Security Service, a Tutsi. All these people around the army and the military are simply Tutsi.
But we are told that in Rwanda there is no Tutsi, there is no Hutu.
So that is accidental?
There is Rwandese.
Yes, that's true. But what I'm trying to say is, therefore, to build on the point that Robert makes, which is important, RPF has done something good. On its balance sheet, certainly there are assets, there's good things it has done. On the balance sheet of Habyarimana's regime, there are assets on his balance sheet. The same with Kayibanda. What we have failed to do is can we as Rwandan people, Hutus and Tutsis, be able to consolidate our gains without once in a while disrupting it and going back to square one? Now, why do I say this? I say that because at some point, Rwanda is like a patient. Let me talk like a physician. Rwanda is like a patient. You know, you're a drug addict. You go to a doctor and say, Theogene, you actually have a problem of addiction. And the doctor prescribes what you need to do. I begin the first few days, I start feeling better. The sooner I start getting better, immediately I get off the treatment. And sooner than later, I get back into the same bad habits that have always created problems for Rwanda. And the only three things that we are telling, for example, the regime of Rwanda, and particularly addressing this to President Kagame, can you stop harassing people?
Just in case President Kagame was watching you, could you please look direct in that camera and speak to him?
Yes. The point that I'm addressing this actually to President Kagame, because he, more than anybody, holds the key within Rwanda, within the establishment, to unlocking the pathways of getting to where we want and consolidating the gains that RPF has made without sliding back into the chaos of the past, the bloodshed, and the destruction. And what is that? Number one, simply stop abusing the rights of the people, especially the right to life. You know, as you watched on this, the whole issue about the Congo, but the issue of the Congo came in the heels of what happened in Rwanda. Many of the crimes that were committed in Rwanda, some of them committed by our own people within the RPA, and which have not been accounted for. And right now, as we speak, President Kagame has become relentless. We know, for example, the case of people who've been hunted down in exile and being hunted to be killed. We know the case recently of London police, which has called upon the Rwandan government to stop this quest for assassinating people in exile. We know the issues of people who are being harassed within the country and being jailed. Honestly, do we need aid to stop that? The moment President Kagame, you say, I'm going to stop killing people, I'm going to stop harassing people, I'm going to stop putting people in jail, it will stop. That is number one. Number two, the question of political freedom in the country. Do we need really anybody to tell us that if there are people who have dissenting views, who want to have their political parties that would like to exist within the country, do we need anybody to tell us that once you start getting leaders in the opposition into jail, it's a recipe for disaster? Because once you don't listen to the voices of the people, we are going back to the past and we are failing to consolidate even the few gains that we've made in the last few years.
I'll give you the opportunity.